Yeah,
So
and
how do we help the Syrian people and not also incentivize the Assad regime?
the solidarity, informing people, and kind of pushing back against the same way you kind of help Ukraine, however you've been dealing with Ukraine currently, because obviously we know there's regressive elements of every side. We just know that the actual resistance right now are the people who are defending an invasion, and that's not Russia.
And it's hard because you do have something like Ukraine comes about, and you have people having Ukraine flags all over the place, and you don't get that same support for Yemen or Syria. Like
Yeah.
you don't see that. That's going to be hard too because Syria's been in this a lot longer.
I never looked into the Crimea offensive, but it was happening at the same time that a lot of Syrians were getting bombed by Russia too. And if only like a victory against Russia would always be a win for Syrians. And I think the best anti-war position is that Russia in Ukraine gets dealt a decisive defeat. That's the only solution to prevent them from doing this all over again in another country in a few years, because Putin would have never done this if he was defeated in Syria. This all could have been avoided. If you're actually anti-war, you should have defeated him in Syria and not let him have the courage to do this again in Ukraine. Because he saw how he was able to get away with it. It was completely unchallenged. USA is not fighting Russia in Syria. It fought ISIS. It helped Russia defend Assad from rebels too.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Spot on. I talked a lot about Russia's testing of basic military tactics and gear in Syria. It was basically like a training grounds, and we're seeing that exact same behavior in Ukraine. It would be funny how direct it was if it wasn't so sad. Like it's just exactly like that. And then Ukraine is just another dipping his toes in the water, seeing how far he can get away with that kind of a thing.
Georgia part three coming up next, or wherever,
100%.
like,
Exactly, yeah. And also he's testing where his allies are. That Belarusian stuff and all that. The same basic concept is he's getting a ton of information. The theme of this particular hour we've been talking is just desperation and pressure.